The glass door exploded inward with such force that shards scattered across the bakery floor like diamonds catching the afternoon light. Minji didn't scream. Her hands, covered in flour from kneading dough, simply froze mid-motion as 6 men in black suits swept through the entrance with military precision. Customers abandoned their coffee cups, chairs scraping against hardwood as they scrambled toward the back exit. The cheerful jazz music playing through the speakers seemed obscene now, a soundtrack to something about to go terribly wrong. Then the Mafia boss walked in. Kang Doyan moved through the chaos like a knife through water, parting the panic with his mere presence. 3 years hadn't softened him. If anything, he'd become sharper, more dangerous, a blade honed by violence and power. His charcoal suit probably cost more than 6 months of her rent. His hair was swept back perfectly, revealing a face that belonged on magazine covers if those magazines celebrated beautiful monsters. But it was his eyes that made her knees weak. Those impossibly dark eyes that had once looked at her like she was the only thing in the world worth seeing. Those same eyes locked onto her now, and the entire world contracted to just the two of them. His gaze dropped to her rounded belly, visible even beneath her flour-dusted apron, and Minji watched the Mafia boss's expression shatter into something between devastation and fury. For 3 seconds, Kang Doyan, the heir to Seoul's most powerful crime family, the man who'd built an empire on fear and loyalty, looked completely, utterly lost. "Everyone out," he said quietly. His voice barely rose above conversational level, but it carried absolute authority. "Now." Soyeon, her co-worker, grabbed Minji's arm. "I'm calling the police." "Don't," Minji whispered. Her throat felt like sandpaper. "Just go. Please. I'm not leaving you with. Go." The word came out harsher than intended. Soyeon flinched but obeyed, casting frightened glances backward as she fled through the kitchen exit. Within seconds, the bakery stood empty except for Minji, the Mafia boss, and his men stationed like sentinels at every exit. The baby kicked hard against Minji's ribs, as if sensing the tension crackling through the air. She pressed a hand protectively over her belly, the gesture unconscious and maternal. Doyan's eyes tracked the movement with an intensity that made her skin burn. 8 months, he said finally. Each word dropped like a stone into still water. "You've been gone 8 months. I know how long it's been." Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "Small victories. 8 months I've torn this city apart looking for you. 8 months of dead ends and false leads and nights wondering if you were alive or dead or if you'd simply decided I wasn't worth." He stopped abruptly, jaw clenching. "And I find you here. Running a bakery in Yongsan. Pregnant. I didn't ask you to look for me." "You didn't ask." His laugh was sharp, brittle. "You disappeared in the middle of the night. No note. No explanation. Your apartment cleared out like you'd never existed. What the hell did you expect me to do?" "I expected you to move on." The words exploded out of her. "I expected you to go back to your world and forget about the mistake you made slumming it with a baker's daughter." "Mistake." The Mafia boss repeated the word slowly, tasting it like poison. "Is that what you think you were?" "I know what I was. A distraction. A curiosity. The crime boss playing pretend with a normal girl because it made him feel human for a few months." Doyan moved so fast she didn't have time to react. Suddenly he was there, inches away, close enough that she could smell his cologne, that expensive scent that used to cling to her skin in the mornings. His hand came up, and she flinched instinctively. But the Mafia boss didn't strike her. Instead, his fingers traced the curve of her jaw with devastating gentleness. "You think I played pretend?" His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "You think what we had was just some rich boy's fantasy? I think you were bored and I was convenient. I married you." The words hung between them like a grenade. "In front of witnesses, I trusted with my life. I put a ring on your finger and made vows I meant with everything in me. So tell me, Minji, what part of that was pretend?" She wanted to pull away from his touch, but her traitorous body refused to cooperate. "That wasn't a real marriage. It was a ceremony in a hotel room with 2 of your men as witnesses. No family, no official registration, nothing that mattered to anyone but us." "It mattered to me." His thumb brushed across her lower lip. "It was the most real thing I've ever done in my entire life." "Then why didn't you tell anyone?" The accusation burst out before she could stop it. Why keep me hidden like something shameful? Why make me sneak around like your dirty secret? Pain flashed across his face, quick and genuine. You know why. Tell me anyway. I want to hear you say it. His hand dropped away from her face. He stepped back, creating distance that felt like a chasm. My family wouldn't have understood. The board wouldn't have approved. You were a civilian, an outsider, someone without connections or protection. Announcing our marriage would have painted a target on your back that I couldn't. He stopped, his jaw working. I was trying to protect you. By keeping me secret? By making me hide in hotel rooms and meet you in back alleys like something you were ashamed of. I was never ashamed of you. The Mafia boss's voice rose for the first time, echoing off the bakery walls. One of his men shifted uncomfortably by the door. I was terrified for you. Do you have any idea what my world is like? What happens to people who get too close to someone like me? I've buried friends, Minji. I've watched innocent people die because they were in the wrong place or knew the wrong person or simply existed near someone my enemies wanted to hurt. And you wanted me to broadcast to every gang, every rival family, every psychopath with a grudge that you were my weakness. So instead you let me think I meant nothing. You meant everything. The confession ripped out of him. You were the only good thing in my entire godforsaken life, and I was trying to keep you alive long enough to figure out how to make this work. Silence crashed down between them. Minji felt tears burning behind her eyes and furiously blinked them back. She would not cry. She'd promised herself 8 months ago that she was done crying over Kang Doyan. It doesn't matter now, she said quietly. We're over. We've been over for 8 months. You need to leave. Leave. He laughed, harsh and humorless. You're carrying my child and you expect me to just walk away? This baby is mine. Only mine. That's biologically impossible and legally meaningless. I'm the father, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. You're nothing. The cruelty of the words tasted like ash in her mouth, but she forced them out anyway. You're a sperm donor. A one-night stand that lasted too long. This baby will never know your name. She watched the words land like physical blows. Watched something dangerous kindle in the Mafia boss's eyes. When he spoke again, his voice had gone deadly quiet. You can lie to yourself all you want, but we both know the truth. You left because you were scared. Because loving me terrified you. Because you knew that once you let me in completely, there was no going back. I left because your cousin threatened to murder my family. If you're listening right now, help me prove something wrong. My mother said I wouldn't even reach 10 subscribers, but I believe stories like this deserve to be heard. Help me show her that these tales matter. Please subscribe to our channel and let's keep breathing life into stories that were never meant to stay silent. Now, let's continue. The confession exploded into the space between them. Minji's hand flew to her mouth, but it was too late. The words were out, hanging in the air like smoke. She watched the Mafia boss's entire body go rigid, watched his face transform into something carved from ice and fury. What did you just say? Each word was precisely enunciated, carefully controlled. Nothing. Forget I said anything. Minji. He moved closer, and this time there was nothing romantic or gentle in his approach. This was the Mafia boss at his most dangerous, the man whose name made hardened criminals nervous. What did Tae-jun do? It doesn't matter anymore. It matters to me. Tell me exactly what my cousin said to you, or I swear I will tear this entire city apart until I find out. She believed him. That was the terrifying part. She absolutely believed that Kang Doyan would burn Seoul to the ground to get answers. The baby kicked again, harder this time, and she wrapped both arms around her belly protectively. He came to me the day after our wedding, she said quietly. You were in Busan for that shipping deal. He showed up at my apartment at 3 in the morning with photos of my parents' restaurant. Pictures of my mother locking up. My father counting the register. My little brother walking home from his university classes. He knew their schedules, Doyan. He knew what time they went to bed, what route my brother took to school, everything. The Mafia boss's hands had curled into fists at his sides. A muscle jumped in his jaw. Go on. He told me that you were too important to the family business to be distracted by someone like me. That I was a liability. A weakness they couldn't afford. He said if I didn't disappear, if I didn't make you believe it was my choice, he'd burn down the restaurant with my family inside. Her voice cracked on the last words. He showed me pictures of accelerants. Gasoline cans. He had blueprints of the building with all the exits marked. He told me exactly how long it would take for smoke inhalation to kill someone if they were sleeping on the second floor. Why didn't you tell me? The anguish in his voice was raw, unfiltered. Because I was terrified. Because he made it very clear that going to you would only speed up the timeline. Because he said he was protecting the family's interests and had your father's implicit approval even if not his explicit orders. What was I supposed to do? Risk my entire family on the hope that you could protect them from your own cousin? I would have killed him. The mafia boss's words were simple, factual. I would have put a bullet in his head that same day. And then what? Start a war with your own family? Watch the empire tear itself apart? I couldn't ask you to do that. I couldn't be the reason you destroyed everything you'd built. You were my wife. His voice cracked on the word. You were supposed to come to me. You were supposed to trust that I would find a way to keep you safe. I did trust you. That's why I left. Because I trusted that you'd eventually move on and find someone appropriate. Someone from your world who could stand beside you without becoming a target. Someone who wouldn't get people killed just by existing. Doyen stared at her for a long moment. Then, to her complete shock, the mafia boss laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. It was the laugh of a man who'd just heard the punchline to a joke written in blood. Move on, he repeated. Find someone appropriate. He pulled out his phone with sharp, angry movements and held it up so she could see the screen. This is my call log from the past 8 months. Count how many calls are to my investigators. To contacts in every district of this city. To people I haven't spoken to in years, calling in favors I'd been saving for emergencies. I stopped sleeping. I stopped eating regularly. I became a ghost hunting a ghost. He swiped to another screen. These are the properties I've acquired in the past 8 months. 12 buildings across Seoul. You want to know why? Because they had security footage that might show where you went. Because someone might have seen you. Because I was methodically buying up every piece of this city that might give me a clue to where you disappeared to. Another swipe. This is my browser history. Missing persons databases. Hospital admission records. Ferry manifests. I hacked systems that would have gotten me federal charges because I thought you might have run. Might have been hurt. Might have been lying in a morgue somewhere while I was sitting in meetings pretending to give a damn about territorial disputes and shipping routes. He lowered the phone, and Minji could see the exhaustion carved into the mafia boss's features. The shadows under his eyes. The new hardness in his jaw. So you tell me, Minji. Does that look like a man who moved on? Doyen. I'm not finished. He cut her off. 3 months ago, I found out what Tae-jun did. Not the details, not the specifics you just told me, but enough. Enough to know he'd threatened you. Enough to know he was the reason you left. Do you want to know what I did? She didn't want to know. But she couldn't look away from his eyes, from the darkness swimming in their depths. He died in a car accident, the mafia boss continued conversationally. Single vehicle collision on a mountain road. The brakes failed at a very unfortunate moment. Very tragic. The whole family mourned. Horror crawled up Minji's spine. You killed your own cousin. I eliminated a threat to what's mine. His voice was completely flat, emotionless. He thought he could manipulate you, terrorize you, drive you away from me and face no consequences. He was wrong. You're insane. I'm in love with you. He said it like a confession, like an accusation. I've been in love with you since the first time you told me my coffee order was pretentious, and I should try actually tasting what I drink instead of just ordering the most expensive thing on the menu. I've been in love with you since you made me laugh at a terrible joke about bread puns while you were covered in flour. I've been in love with you through every single day of the past 8 months when I didn't know if you were alive or dead. Tears were streaming down Minji's face now, and she couldn't stop them. This is exactly why I left. Because you love me in a way that gets people killed. Then they die. The brutal simplicity of the mafia boss's statement stole her breath. Anyone who threatens you, Anyone who tries to take you from me, anyone who stands between us dies. That's not a threat, Minji. It's a promise. The weight of his words settled over the bakery like ash after a fire. Minji's legs suddenly felt weak, and she gripped the counter behind her for support. The baby shifted inside her, a rolling movement that reminded her exactly what was at stake. This wasn't just about her anymore. It hadn't been for 8 months. You can't just kill everyone who inconveniences you, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. I don't. The Mafia boss moved closer, eliminating the space between them with predatory grace. I kill everyone who threatens what's mine. There's a difference. I'm not yours. Not anymore. You never stopped being mine. His hand came up to rest on her belly, and she gasped at the contact. His palm was warm through the thin fabric of her dress. And neither is this child. My child. My heir. Don't. She tried to push his hand away, but he caught her wrist gently, holding it against his chest. She could feel his heartbeat, steady and strong beneath her palm. Doyen, please. This doesn't change anything. It changes everything. His other hand cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. Do you have any idea what you're carrying? A Kong heir. My son or daughter. The next generation of my family's legacy. Did you really think I'd walk away from that? From you. It's not your legacy. This baby will have nothing to do with your world. I'll make sure of it. The Mafia boss's expression hardened. You don't get to make that choice alone. I'm the mother. I get to make every choice. And I'm the father. The head of the Kong family. A man with resources you can't even imagine. You think you can hide from me? You think you can raise my child in secret while working in a bakery in Yongsan? He leaned in closer, his breath warm against her ear. I found you once. I'll find you every time you run. And next time, I won't be as patient. A chill ran down her spine. This was the man Seoul's underworld feared. Not the gentle lover who'd held her through the night, but the Mafia boss who'd built an empire on calculated violence. Are you threatening me? I'm promising you. He pulled back just enough to look into her eyes. You're my wife, Minji. Legally, spiritually, in every way that matters. That hasn't changed just because you disappeared. The certificate is still in my safe. Our vows are still binding. And now you're carrying my child. There is no scenario where I let you walk away from me again. You can't force me to stay. Can't I? His smile was cold, dangerous. I own half of Seoul's real estate. I have connections in every government office, every police precinct, every hospital in this city. If I wanted to, I could make your life very difficult. I could shut down this bakery with one phone call. I could make sure you never find work anywhere in Seoul. I could. Stop. Her voice broke. Please just stop. Something in her tone made him pause. The hardness in his expression softened fractionally. I don't want to do any of those things. I don't want to threaten you or force you or make your life hell. I want you to come home willingly. I want you to remember what we had. What we could have again. What we had was a fantasy. A few stolen months of pretending we could bridge the gap between our worlds. It wasn't a fantasy for me. His thumb traced circles on her belly, and she hated how comforting the gesture felt. Every moment with you was the most real thing in my life. When I was with you, I wasn't the Mafia boss. I wasn't Kong Doyen, heir to a crime empire. I was just a man who'd found something worth protecting. Something worth dying for. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. I would die for you, Minji. I would kill for you. I've already proven that. And I would burn this entire city to ash if it meant keeping you and our child safe. That's not love. That's obsession. Maybe. He didn't deny it. But it's what I have to offer. Me in all my broken, violent glory. A man who's built his life on blood and power but would give it all up for one more night holding you in the dark. Tears spilled down her cheeks again. You're not making this easier. I'm not trying to make it easier. I'm trying to make you understand that leaving was never an option. That you and I, we're bound together in ways that go deeper than vows or certificates or time apart. You're in my blood, Minji. You have been since the first moment I saw you yelling at that supplier about the quality of your flour. Despite everything, despite the fear and anger and confusion churning in her gut, she felt her lips twitch toward a smile. You remember that? I remember everything. His voice dropped to something soft, intimate. I remember you had flour in your hair and fire in your eyes. I remember thinking I'd never seen anyone more beautiful or terrifying. I remember going back to that bakery every day for 2 weeks just to see you again. To hear you laugh. To watch you create something beautiful with your hands. You came back because you wanted free samples. I came back because I was already falling in love with you, and I didn't know how to stop. The Mafia boss rested his forehead against hers. I still don't know how to stop. Even after 8 months of silence. Even after thinking I'd lost you forever. My heart doesn't seem to understand that you're supposed to be gone. Doyen. His name came out as half plea, half prayer. This can't work. You know it can't. Your world and mine, they're too different. Too dangerous. Then I'll change my world. The words were immediate, fierce. I'll make it safe for you. For our child. Whatever it takes. You can't just reshape an entire crime empire because you want to play house. Watch me. There was steel in his voice now, the unshakable certainty of a man who'd never failed at anything he truly set his mind to. I've spent the past 3 months consolidating power. Eliminating threats. Building alliances. The family is stronger now than it's been in decades, and it's all been in preparation for this. For you. For me. She stared at him, confused. You didn't even know where I was. I knew I'd find you eventually. I had faith in that, even when I had faith in nothing else. And I knew that when I did, I needed to be in a position where no one could threaten you again. Where my word was absolute law. Where anyone who even thought about hurting you would know they'd signed their own death warrant. He cupped her face in both hands. I've made myself into a monster, Minji. But I've made myself into a monster who can protect what he loves. A sharp pain lanced through her abdomen, making her gasp. The Mafia boss's eyes immediately darkened with concern. What's wrong? Nothing. Just Braxton Hicks. False contractions. The baby's been active today. She pressed a hand to her side, breathing through the discomfort. You need to sit down. I'm fine. You're not fine. You're pregnant and stressed and you've been on your feet all day. Without waiting for permission, the Mafia boss swept her into his arms with startling gentleness. She made a sound of protest, but he ignored it, carrying her to one of the bakery's small tables and settling her carefully into a chair. Stay. I'm not a dog. No, you're a stubborn woman who doesn't know when to rest. He turned to one of his men. Minsik, get some water. And something sweet. She needs her blood sugar up. The guard disappeared immediately. Minji watched the Mafia boss crouch in front of her, his expensive suit probably ruining on the flour-dusted floor, and felt something crack in her chest. This was the man she'd fallen in love with. Not the crime boss or the heir or the dangerous force of nature. Just Doyen, looking at her like she was the center of his universe. You can't do this, she whispered. Do what? Be sweet. Be caring. Remind me why I loved you in the first place. Loved. He caught the past tense. Not love. I can't love you anymore, Doyen. It's too dangerous. For me, for the baby, for everyone I care about. Love doesn't work that way. You can't just turn it off because it's inconvenient. His hand found hers, fingers intertwining. I've tried. God knows I've tried to move on, to forget, to bury these feelings under work and violence and anything else I could find. But you're still there. Every time I close my eyes. Every time I take a breath. You're woven into me now, and I don't know how to separate where I end and you begin. Minsik returned with a bottle of water and what looked like an expensive chocolate bar. The Mafia boss opened the water, holding it to her lips like she was incapable of drinking by herself. She took a sip to appease him, and he seemed satisfied. When are you due? He asked quietly. 3 weeks. Something flashed across his face. Fear, maybe. Or wonder. 3 weeks, he repeated. That's so soon. I know. Do you have everything you need? A hospital picked out? A doctor? Someone to be with you during labor? I have it handled. That's not what I asked. The mafia boss's voice gained an edge. Do you have someone to be with you? Because if you think I'm going to let you go through that alone, you don't have a choice. You're not part of this. I'm the father. You're the sperm donor. She threw his own words back at him, and immediately regretted it when she saw the hurt flash across his face. Doyen, I'm sorry, I didn't mean. Yes, you did. He stood abruptly, pacing away from her. When he turned back, his expression was carefully controlled. You meant every word. And maybe you're right. Maybe I don't deserve to be there. Maybe I don't deserve to see my child born or hold them for the first time or any of it. But I'm going to be there anyway, Minji. Whether you want me there or not. You can't just force your way into the delivery room. I own the hospital. The statement was flat, factual. Seoul General, where I assume you've been receiving prenatal care based on the intake forms one of my investigators found. I sit on the board. The director owes me several significant favors. So yes, I absolutely can force my way into the delivery room if necessary. Horror washed over her. You've been investigating me? Even before today. I've been investigating everyone in Seoul trying to find you. When I finally got a lead 2 days ago, I had my people pull every record they could find. Medical, financial, employment. I know you've been working here for 6 months. I know you're living in a small apartment in Mapo. I know you've been careful with money, probably scared I'd track you through credit card purchases. I know everything, Minji. Everything except why you thought I'd ever let you go. She felt violated, exposed. You had no right. I had every right. You're my wife. A wife you kept secret. To protect you. The mafia boss's control finally snapped. How many times do I have to say it before you understand? I kept you secret because I loved you too much to risk you. Because my world is full of people who would use you against me without a second thought. Because I've seen what happens to the families of men like me, and I couldn't stomach the thought of you ending up as collateral damage in someone else's war. So instead you made me collateral damage in your cousin's war. The accusation hung in the air between them. The mafia boss's chest heaved with emotion, his hands clenched at his sides. You're right, he said finally. You're absolutely right. I failed you. I should have seen Taejin's jealousy. Should have predicted he'd go after you. Should have protected you better. That failure will haunt me for the rest of my life. Doyen. But I won't fail you again. He moved back to her, dropping to his knees in front of her chair. I swear to you, on everything I am and everything I'll ever be, I won't let anyone hurt you again. You and our child will be untouchable. I'll make sure of it. How? By killing anyone who looks at us wrong. If necessary. He didn't even hesitate. I'll paint the streets red before I let anyone threaten my family again. And what about when our child grows up? What do I tell them about their father? That he's a murderer? A crime boss? That he built their safety on a foundation of bodies? The mafia boss was quiet for a long moment. You tell them I loved them enough to become a monster. That I loved their mother so much I was willing to damn my soul to keep her safe. You tell them that some men are born into darkness, and some men choose darkness, but I chose it for love. That's not a legacy. That's a tragedy. Then it's our tragedy. His hands covered hers, warm and steady. But it's ours, Minji. Yours and mine and our child's. We face it together, or we don't face it at all. She wanted to pull away. Wanted to tell him to leave and never come back. Wanted to maintain the walls she built so carefully over the past 8 months. But the baby chose that moment to kick hard, right where his hand rested on her belly. The mafia boss's eyes widened with wonder, his entire face transforming. Was that? Yes. She couldn't keep the softness out of her voice. The baby kicks a lot. Especially when I'm stressed. Can I feel it again? The question was almost childlike in its hope. Before she could answer, another kick came, stronger this time. The mafia boss's expression cracked completely, and for a moment she saw the man beneath the monster. The man who'd held her gently in the dark. The man who'd laughed at her terrible jokes and helped her test new recipes at midnight. The man she'd loved with everything in her. That's incredible, he breathed. That's our baby. Our child. Moving and alive and real. I know. I missed this. His voice broke. I missed all of it. The first ultrasound. The first kick. Watching you grow round with my child. All because Tae-jun, he stopped himself, jaw clenching. All because I failed to protect you properly. It's not your fault. It is. The Mafia boss looked up at her with eyes full of regret. But I'll spend the rest of my life making it right. If you'll let me. Before Minji could respond, her phone buzzed loudly on the counter behind them. The sound shattered the fragile moment, and she instinctively reached for it. The Mafia boss was faster, his hand closing around the device first. He glanced at the screen, and his entire demeanor changed in an instant. The softness vanished, replaced by something cold and lethal. Who's Ji-hoon? His voice was deceptively calm. Give me my phone. Who is he, Minji? He's none of your business. Give it back. The Mafia boss held the phone out of reach, his eyes scanning the message preview. Checking in on you and the baby. Hope today wasn't too exhausting. See you at tomorrow's appointment. He looked at her with an expression that could freeze blood. You're letting another man go to your prenatal appointments? He's a friend. Just a friend. Friends don't use heart emojis when they text. It's a supportive emoji, not a romantic one. And you're being ridiculous. Am I? The Mafia boss stood, towering over her. You've been gone 8 months. 8 months where you could have met someone. Started over. Moved on with someone safer, someone normal, someone who isn't. Someone who isn't you. She pushed herself up from the chair, ignoring the protest from her back. Yes, Doyen. I could have. That's what normal people do when relationships end. They heal. They move forward. They don't spend 8 months tearing apart a city like some obsessed. Don't finish that sentence. His voice dropped to something dangerous. Not unless you want me to show you exactly how obsessed I can be. Ji-hoon is my prenatal class instructor, she said clearly. He's a nurse. He's 52 years old. He's married with 3 grandchildren. And he's been nothing but kind and supportive through a very difficult pregnancy. So you can take your jealousy and... The Mafia boss's expression transformed so quickly it gave her whiplash. A difficult pregnancy? What's been difficult? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I just meant emotionally difficult. Being alone and... You said difficult pregnancy. His hands were on her shoulders now, his eyes searching her face with sudden panic. What complications have you had? Has there been bleeding? Pain? Is the baby okay? The baby's fine. I'm fine. I just meant... I want to see your medical records. All of them. Right now. Absolutely not. Minji, I swear to God, if something is wrong and you've been dealing with it alone. There's nothing wrong. The words came out louder than intended, echoing off the bakery walls. One of his guards shifted nervously by the door. I'm healthy. The baby's healthy. My blood pressure is perfect. My glucose tests were normal. Everything is textbook normal except for the fact that I'm doing it alone because the father is a mafia boss who I can't. She stopped abruptly. The baby had kicked again, but this time it came with a sharp cramping pain that radiated across her entire abdomen. She gasped, doubling over slightly. Minji. The mafia boss caught her immediately, supporting her weight. What's happening? Talk to me. I don't know. It's different from before. Stronger. Another contraction seized her, and this time she couldn't suppress a small cry. Oh God. Hospital. Now. The mafia boss swept her into his arms without hesitation. Minsik, bring the car around. Call ahead to Seoul General. Tell them we're coming and I want Dr. Park waiting. Wait, no, I can't. I have to close up the bakery. The ovens are still. I don't give a damn about the ovens. He was already moving toward the door, carrying her like she weighed nothing. Your health and our baby's health are the only things that matter right now. Doyen, please. It's probably just more false contractions. I don't need to go to the hospital. You're 3 weeks from your due date and in obvious pain. We're going to the hospital. His tone left no room for argument. Outside, a sleek black Mercedes pulled up to the curb so fast its tires squealed. Another guard appeared from nowhere to open the back door. The Mafia boss settled her carefully in the back seat, then climbed in beside her, keeping one arm around her shoulders. Drive fast but smooth, he ordered the driver. Any bump that hurts her and I'll have your head. This is insane, Minji muttered, but another contraction cut off her protest. They were coming closer together now, each one stronger than the last. Maybe this wasn't false labor after all. Breathe, the Mafia boss instructed, his hand rubbing circles on her back. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Like in those prenatal classes you've been taking. How do you know about breathing techniques? I've been reading. At her surprised look, he had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. When I couldn't find you, I read everything I could about pregnancy and childbirth. I needed to feel connected to you somehow, even if it was just understanding what you might be going through. Despite the pain, despite the fear, despite everything, Minji felt something warm bloom in her chest. You read pregnancy books? And watched YouTube videos? And attended a prenatal class under a fake name? The Mafia boss met her eyes. I told you, Minji. I never stopped trying to be part of this. Even when I didn't know where you were. The car wove through Seoul's evening traffic with practiced precision. Through the tinted windows, Minji watched the city blur past, all neon lights and hurried pedestrians. Somewhere out there was the life she'd built so carefully over the past 8 months. The small apartment where she'd nested for her baby. The bakery where she'd found purpose and peace. The quiet anonymity she'd fought so hard to maintain. And now it was all crashing down because the Mafia boss had found her, and nothing would ever be simple again. I can't do this, she whispered. Yes, you can. You're the strongest person I know. Not the labor. This. Us. Bringing a baby into your world. His arm tightened around her. Then we'll change my world. I meant what I said before. Whatever it takes to make you feel safe, I'll do it. You can't just leave the family business. I can restructure it. Make it legitimate. I've already started the process. Money laundering operations are being shut down. Drug distribution is being handed off to rivals. We're pivoting to legal enterprises, real estate, import-export businesses that won't get our children killed. Our children. She stared at him. We don't even know if we can make this work with one child, and you're already planning more? I'm planning a future. The Mafia boss's voice was intense. With you. With our family. Whatever that looks like. However many children you want. I'll give you everything, Minji. A house with a garden. Safety. Legitimacy. A normal life. You don't know how to live a normal life. Then you'll teach me. He pressed his lips to her temple. You'll teach me how to be the man you need me to be. The father our child deserves. Another contraction hit, stronger and longer than before. Minji gripped his hand hard enough that she felt his bones shift. He didn't complain, just held her through it, murmuring encouragement until the pain ebbed. How far apart are they? He asked tensely. Maybe 5 minutes? I don't know. I wasn't timing them. We're almost there. The Mafia boss leaned forward. How much longer? 3 minutes, boss, the driver responded. Traffic's heavy, but we're taking back streets. Those 3 minutes felt like hours. Minji counted 2 more contractions, each one making her more certain that this was the real thing. Her baby was coming. 3 weeks early. Right when her entire world had been turned upside down again. The car screeched to a halt in front of Seoul General's emergency entrance. The Mafia boss had her out and in his arms before she could protest. A team of nurses appeared with a wheelchair, but he ignored them, carrying her through the sliding doors himself. I need Dr. Park, he announced to the reception desk. Now. Sir, if you'll just. I'm Kong Doyen. Dr. Park is expecting us. Get her. Now. Something in his tone made the receptionist's eyes widen with recognition. She grabbed her phone immediately, speaking rapidly. Within seconds, a woman in blue scrubs appeared, her expression professionally calm despite the obvious tension. "Mr. Kong," Dr. Park said smoothly. "I see you found her. Let's get your wife into an exam room and see what we're dealing with." Wife. The word hung in the air like a claim. Minji wanted to protest, but another contraction stole her breath. The Mafia boss followed Dr. Park down a hallway, still refusing to put Minji down until they reached a private room that was far too luxurious to be standard hospital issue. "This is the VIP suite," Dr. Park explained, as if that was normal. Mr. Kong insisted on having it prepared just in case. "Now, let's see what's happening with this baby." The next 20 minutes were a blur of examinations, monitors, and medical jargon. Minji found herself in a hospital gown, hooked up to machines that tracked the baby's heartbeat and her contractions. The Mafia boss stood by her side the entire time, his hand clasped in hers, his expression tense. "Well," Dr. Park said finally, "you're definitely in labor. You're dilated to 4 centimeters already, and the contractions are regular. This baby is coming tonight." "Tonight?" Minji's voice came out small. "But it's too early. I'm only 37 weeks. 37 weeks is full term," Dr. Park reassured her. "Early, yes, but not dangerously so. Your baby will be fine. Are you ready to become parents?" "Yes," the Mafia boss said immediately. At the same time, Minji said, "No." Dr. Park's eyebrows rose. "I see. Well, ready or not, this baby has decided it's time. I'll give you two some privacy to work through whatever's going on here. But Mr. Kong, if you're going to be in the delivery room, you'll need to change into scrubs. And Ms., she paused. I'm sorry, what's your preferred name?" "Kim Minji," Minji said firmly. "Kong Minji," the Mafia boss corrected. "She's my wife." "I'm not." "You are." He turned to her, his expression brooking no argument. "Legally, officially, in every way that matters. You're my wife, and this is my child, and I'm going to be here for both of you whether you like it or not." Dr. Park cleared her throat. "Right. Well, I'll leave you two to discuss that. I'll be back in 15 minutes to check your progress." She fled the room with the practiced speed of someone who knew when to make themselves scarce. The moment the door closed, Minji turned on the Mafia boss. "You can't just announce to everyone that I'm your wife. We've been separated for 8 months. People will ask questions. Let them ask. I have nothing to hide anymore. Your family is being dealt with as we speak." He pulled out his phone, typing rapidly. "I'm sending word to the board right now. By morning, everyone in Seoul will know that Kong Doyan has a wife and child. That you're under my protection. That anyone who even looks at you wrong will answer to me personally. You're going to start a war. I'm going to end one." The Mafia boss pocketed his phone and took both her hands in his. "For 8 months, I've been consolidating power. Eliminating rivals. Building alliances. Making the Kong family stronger than it's been in generations. All in preparation for this moment. For bringing you home publicly. This isn't my home. Then where is? That tiny apartment in Mapo? The bakery where you've been hiding? Minji, you can fight me on this all you want, but we both know the truth. You're tired of running. Tired of being alone. Tired of pretending you don't still love me." "I don't." "You do." He leaned in close. "You love me as much as I love you, and it terrifies you. Because if you admit it, you have to admit that leaving was a mistake. That we could have fought Taejun together. That you should have trusted me to protect you. He threatened my family. And I would have moved your family into a fortress if I'd known. I would have put guards on them 24/7. I would have done whatever it took to keep them safe." The Mafia boss's voice rose with emotion. "But you didn't give me that chance. You made a choice for both of us, and it cost us 8 months we'll never get back." Minji felt tears streaming down her face again. "I was scared." "I know." His voice softened. "I know you were. And I hate that my world put that fear in you. But I'm asking you now, begging you, to let me make it right. Let me be here for this birth. Let me be a father to our child. Let me prove that I can be the man you need. And if you can't?" If your world is too dangerous, then we'll leave. The words were immediate, certain. We'll go somewhere far from Seoul, far from a family business, far from everything. I'll walk away from it all if that's what it takes. You can't just walk away from being the mafia boss. Watch me. His eyes burned with intensity. You and this baby are my priority now. Everything else is negotiable. Another contraction seized her, stronger than all the others. Minji cried out, gripping his hand so hard she felt something crack. The mafia boss didn't flinch, just breathed with her, coached her through it like he'd been doing this for years. When it passed, she looked up at him with exhausted eyes. I'm scared, Doyen. I know. But you're not alone anymore. He pressed his forehead to hers. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. We're doing this together. What if I'm a terrible mother? Impossible. You're going to be incredible. What if the baby doesn't like you? Then I'll spend every day of the rest of my life earning their love. The mafia boss smiled, and it transformed his entire face. Just like I'm going to spend every day earning yours again. You never lost it, she admitted quietly. That's the problem. I've loved you through every single day of the past 8 months, even when I hated myself for it. His breath caught. Say that again. I love you. The words came easier this time. I love you and I'm terrified, and I don't know how we're going to make this work, but I'm tired of pretending we're not supposed to be together. The mafia boss kissed her then, deep and desperate and full of 8 months of longing. When he pulled back, there were tears in his eyes. We'll make it work. Whatever it takes. I promise you. Dr. Park chose that moment to return, knocking briskly before entering. How are we doing? Oh. She stopped short, taking in their tear-stained faces and clasped hands. Should I come back? No, Minji said, finding her voice. We're ready. Both of us, the mafia boss added, standing. Where do I get those scrubs? The next few hours blurred together in a haze of pain and breathing exercises and the mafia boss's steady presence at her side. He never left, never flinched, never showed anything but absolute focus on her and their child. When she screamed at him during a particularly brutal contraction, he took it without complaint. When she sobbed that she couldn't do this, he told her she was the strongest person he'd ever known and he believed in her completely. And when the baby finally came, sliding into the world with a lusty cry at 2:17 in the morning, the mafia boss broke down completely. Tears streamed down his face as Dr. Park placed their daughter on Minji's chest, this tiny perfect creature with a shock of dark hair and her father's nose. She's beautiful, he breathed, his voice wrecked. God, Minji, she's perfect. She is, Minji agreed, staring down at their daughter in wonder. She really is. Can I hold her? The question was tentative, almost afraid. Minji looked up at the mafia boss, at this dangerous man who'd killed for her and would kill again without hesitation, and saw only a father desperate to hold his child. Of course you can. He took their daughter with shaking hands, cradling her against his chest like she was made of glass. The baby quieted immediately, her tiny fist curling around his finger. The mafia boss stared down at her with an expression of such pure love that Minji felt her heart crack open. Hello, he whispered. I'm your father. And I promise you right now, that I will spend every single day of my life making sure you're safe and loved and happy. No one will ever hurt you. No one will ever threaten you. You are my world now. You and your mother. My 2 greatest treasures. The baby yawned, completely unimpressed by the declaration. Minji laughed through her tears, and the mafia boss looked up at her with a smile that could have lit up the entire city. We made this, he said in wonder. We made her. We did. What should we name her? Minji considered. Yuna. It means to endure, to achieve. She's already achieved so much just by surviving my stubbornness and your obsession. Kong Yuna. The mafia boss tested the name. It's perfect. She's perfect. You're perfect. He leaned down to kiss Minji's forehead. Thank you. For her. For giving me another chance. For not giving up on us. I tried to give up on us. But you didn't succeed. That's what matters. Dawn broke over Seoul in shades of pink and gold, painting the hospital room in soft light. Minji watched the Mafia boss pace slowly with their daughter, humming something that might have been a lullaby if he could carry a tune. He'd refused to put Yuna down for more than a few minutes at a time, as if afraid she might disappear if he looked away. "You should sleep," Minji said softly. "You've been awake for almost 24 hours. So have you." He didn't stop moving, that gentle sway that seemed to keep Yuna content. "And I'm not tired. I'm too amazed to be tired. Doyen, she's just sleeping. She's going to sleep a lot for the next few weeks." "I know. I read the books, remember?" The Mafia boss looked down at their daughter with undisguised adoration. "But what if she wakes up and I'm not here? What if she needs something and I miss it? Then I'll handle it. I am her mother. And I'm her father." He finally looked up at her. "I missed 8 months, Minji. 8 months of your pregnancy. I'm not missing a single moment more." Before she could respond, there was a knock at the door. The Mafia boss's entire demeanor changed instantly, his body shifting to place himself between the door and his family. "Who is it?" "It's J1, boss. I have the security detail positioned as requested. And there are some people here to see you. Your father and the board members." Minji's stomach dropped. "Your father is here. I sent word last night." The Mafia boss's expression was unreadable. He needs to meet his granddaughter. They all do. This is happening, Minji. No more secrets, no more hiding. You and Yuna are family now. Publicly. Officially. What if they don't accept us? Then they're not family. His voice was steel. "Let them in, J1. But just my father first. The others can wait." The door opened to admit an older man who looked like a harder, colder version of Doyen. Kong Junho moved with the same predatory grace, his expensive suit immaculate despite the early hour. His eyes swept the room, taking in everything with a calculating gaze that made Minji want to pull the blankets over herself and hide. "Father," the Mafia boss said formally. "Thank you for coming. You didn't give me much choice." Junho's voice was deep, gravelly. "Your message last night caused quite a stir. The board has been in emergency session since 3 this morning." "Let them talk. It changes nothing. It changes everything." For the first time, emotion cracked through Junho's controlled facade. "You married without permission. You've hidden a wife and child from the family for nearly a year. You've made decisions that affect the entire organization without consulting anyone. This is not how an heir behaves, Doyen." "Then perhaps I'm not meant to be heir." The Mafia boss's voice was calm, but Minji heard the challenge underneath. Perhaps it's time for the Kong family to evolve beyond ancient traditions and power plays. "You would walk away?" Junho looked genuinely shocked. "From everything I've built? Everything you've worked toward your entire life?" "In a heartbeat. If it means my wife and daughter are safe, I'll walk away from it all without a single regret." Father and son stared at each other, the tension so thick Minji could barely breathe. Then Junho's gaze shifted to the bundle in his son's arms. Something in his expression softened fractionally. "May I see her?" The Mafia boss hesitated for just a moment before moving closer. "Her name is Yuna. Kong Yuna." Junho looked down at his granddaughter, and Minji watched decades of hardness melt away. "She has your mother's eyes," he said quietly. "The same shape. I'd forgotten until just now. I didn't know that." The Mafia boss's voice was softer now. "You never talk about her. Because it hurt too much. She died bringing you into this world, and I blamed you for years. Blamed myself more." Junho reached out tentatively, touching Yuna's tiny hand. She gripped his finger instinctively, and the old man's breath caught. "But looking at this child, I remember why your mother wanted you so badly. Why she was willing to risk everything. Father. I was wrong." The admission seemed to cost Junho something. About many things. About keeping you isolated. About teaching you that love was weakness. About building this empire on fear instead of loyalty. He looked up at his son. "You're already a better man than I ever was. A better father." "I haven't been a father for even 12 hours yet." "No, but look at you. You'd burn the world for that child. For her mother. That's what I should have felt when you were born. What I should have shown you growing up. Junho's eyes moved to Minji. You must be the woman who's accomplished what I never could. You made my son remember how to be human. Minji found her voice. I'm just a baker, Mr. Kong. I didn't set out to accomplish anything. A baker. Something almost like amusement flickered across Junho's face. My son, the heir to Seoul's most powerful crime family, fell in love with a baker. The board nearly had collective heart failure when they heard. Let them, the Mafia boss said flatly. Their opinions stopped mattering the moment Tae-jun threatened Minji's family. Junho went very still. Tae-jun did what? He threatened to kill her parents and brother if she didn't disappear. He made her believe she had no choice but to leave me. That's why she's been gone for 8 months. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. When Junho spoke again, his voice was deadly quiet. And Tae-jun's accident 3 months ago was no accident. He got exactly what he deserved. I see. Junho was quiet for a long moment. The board suspected. Several of them wanted to investigate. I shut them down. Why? The Mafia boss looked surprised. Because I taught you that family betrayal demands blood. Tae-jun knew the rules. He broke them anyway. Junho's expression was granite. I would have done the same thing. Probably with less subtlety. So you're not angry? Oh, I'm furious. But not at you. I'm angry at myself for not seeing what Tae-jun was capable of. For creating an environment where he felt entitled to make those threats. For failing to protect what was yours. Junho looked at Minji again. I apologize, Mrs. Kong. My nephew's actions were inexcusable. If you had come to me. She didn't know she could, the Mafia boss interrupted. Because I never told her. Because I was so busy protecting her in secret that I never thought to give her the tools to protect herself. That failure is mine, not hers. Then we've all failed. Junho straightened. But we can do better. Starting now. The board is waiting. They need to hear from both of you. They need to understand that this family is changing. Minji just gave birth 6 hours ago. She's not ready for a board meeting. I can speak for myself, Minji said, surprising everyone including herself. And Mr. Kong is right. If I'm going to be part of this family, I need to meet them. I need to make it clear that I'm not going anywhere. The Mafia boss looked at her with something like awe. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. For Yuna. For us. I'm tired of hiding, Doyen. Tired of being afraid. If your world is going to be her world, then I need to face it head-on. She's stronger than she looks, Junho observed. Good. She'll need to be. He moved toward the door. I'll have them wait in the conference room. Take your time. But Doyen, when you come down, bring the child. They need to see what's at stake. They need to understand what you're fighting for. When Junho left, the Mafia boss immediately went to Minji's bedside. You don't have to do this, he repeated. I can handle the board. We handle them together. That's what partners do, right? She held out her arms. Give me our daughter. I need to feed her before we face the wolves. He placed Yuna carefully in her arms, and Minji began the awkward process of nursing. The Mafia boss watched with fascination, his hand gentle on her shoulder. You're incredible, he murmured. You know that. I'm terrified. Being terrified and being brave aren't mutually exclusive. You've been brave since the moment you walked away to protect your family. Even if I hated what you did, I understood why. You were protecting the people you love. That's what mothers do. And fathers. She looked up at him. You killed for us. I'd do worse if necessary. There was no apology in his voice. Is that something you can live with? Knowing what I'm capable of. Minji was quiet for a moment, watching Yuna nurse peacefully. I don't know, she admitted. I don't know if I can be okay with violence. But I know I can't be without you. I tried, and I was miserable. So maybe we figure it out together. Maybe you work on being less murderous, and I work on being less judgmental about the murderous parts. The Mafia boss laughed, the sound rusty but genuine. That's the strangest compromise I've ever heard. Welcome to parenthood. Everything is a strange compromise from now on. An hour later, Minji found herself in a wheelchair being pushed down the hospital corridor by the Mafia boss, with Yuna sleeping peacefully in her arms. They dressed her in the clothes Doyen had somehow procured, designer pieces that probably cost more than her monthly rent but were surprisingly comfortable. Her hair was brushed, her face washed, but she still felt like a fraud about to face an execution squad. "Remember," the Mafia boss murmured as they approached the conference room, "you don't owe them anything. You're family. You're my wife. The mother of my child. That's all the legitimacy you need. Easy for you to say. You've known these people your whole life. And they've known me. They know I don't bluff. They know when I say something, I mean it." He crouched down in front of her wheelchair. "I've told them that you and Yuna are non-negotiable. That anyone who has a problem with my marriage can take it up with me personally. Several of them have already submitted their resignations rather than deal with the fallout. That's terrible. That's evolution. The ones who stay are the ones who matter. The ones who understand that the Kong family needs to change or die." He pressed a kiss to her forehead. "Ready?" "No. But let's do it anyway." The conference room was exactly what Minji expected. Dark wood paneling, a massive table, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul. 12 men and 2 women sat around the table, all of them dressed in expensive suits, all of them wearing expressions ranging from curiosity to barely concealed hostility. The Mafia boss pushed her wheelchair to the head of the table, then took his place standing beside her. The message was clear, they were united. "Thank you all for coming on short notice," he began. "I know this situation is irregular. But then, everything about my relationship with Minji has been irregular from the start." "That's one way to put it," a heavy-set man growled. "You married in secret. You hid her from us for months. You killed Tae-jun without consulting the family. And now you expect us to just accept." "I expect nothing." The Mafia boss's voice cut through the room like a blade. "I'm informing you of facts. Minji is my wife. Yuna is my daughter. They are under my protection, which means they are under the family's protection. Anyone who threatens them answers to me. Anyone who refuses to accept them can leave now with my blessing and a generous severance package. And if we choose to stay but disagree with your decisions?" This from an older woman with steel-gray hair. "Then you disagree. I don't require unanimous approval. I require loyalty." The Mafia boss's eyes swept the room. "For 3 months, I've been restructuring this organization. Cutting ties with operations that put us at risk. Building legitimate businesses that will sustain us for generations. Moving us away from the violence and chaos that's defined the Kong family for too long. Making us weak," someone muttered. "Making us smart." Junho's voice rang out from his position at the far end of the table. "My son is doing what I should have done decades ago. He's ensuring that his daughter doesn't grow up in a world where she might be kidnapped, killed, or used as leverage against him. That's not weakness. That's strategic thinking." "It's also love," Minji found herself saying. Every head turned toward her, and she forced herself to continue despite her racing heart. "I know most of you think I'm a liability. An outsider who doesn't understand your world. You're right. I don't understand violence and territory wars and blood feuds. But I understand loyalty. I understand family. And I understand that Doyen is trying to build something better for our daughter." "Pretty speech," the heavy-set man said. "But words don't change reality. You're a baker. What do you know about running a criminal empire?" "Nothing," Minji admitted. "But I know about running a business. About managing people, building customer loyalty, creating something sustainable. And I know that if you want to go legitimate, you're going to need people who actually understand legitimate businesses." One of the younger board members leaned forward with interest. "What are you proposing?" "I'm not proposing anything. I'm just saying that maybe the skills you've dismissed as irrelevant are exactly what you need. Doyen says you're pivoting to real estate and import-export. Those are industries I understand. Industries where reputation and relationships matter more than intimidation." "She has a point," the steel-haired woman said thoughtfully. "We've been trying to legitimize for years, but we keep approaching it like criminals playing dress-up. Maybe we need someone who actually knows how to operate in the legitimate world. This is insane, the heavy-set man sputtered. You want to take business advice from a baker? I want to take advice from someone who's built something successful without resorting to violence, the mafia boss said coldly. Minji's bakery turns a profit. Can you say the same about your money laundering operation? The room erupted in argument. Voices overlapped, accusations flew, and Minji watched the mafia boss stand there calmly, letting them fight it out. Yuna stirred in her arms, making small mewling sounds. Without thinking, Minji began to rock her gently, humming the same off-key lullaby Doyen had been singing earlier. Gradually, the arguing died down. People noticed the baby. The noise softened. This is what's at stake, the mafia boss said quietly. Not territory or profit margins or family honor. This child. My daughter. She deserves to grow up safe. She deserves to inherit something she can be proud of. She deserves better than we had. Junho stood slowly. My son is right. I built this empire on blood, and it's cost me everything that mattered. My wife. My relationship with my son. Years of looking over my shoulder, wondering when someone would finally put a bullet in me. He looked around the table. Some of you have been with this family for decades. You've seen the cost. You've buried friends. You've lost sleep wondering if your own children would be targeted. Is that really what you want for another generation? The steel-haired woman was the first to speak. What exactly are you proposing, Doyen? A 5-year plan. We divest from all illegal operations. We invest heavily in legitimate businesses. We use our connections and capital to build an empire that doesn't require violence to maintain. Anyone who wants out gets a generous package and our gratitude for their service. Anyone who stays commits to the new direction. Completely. And if our rivals see this as weakness? If they try to take what's ours? Then we remind them that going legitimate doesn't mean going soft. The mafia boss's smile was cold. I will protect what's mine. But I'll do it in ways that don't put my family at risk. Smarter ways. Legal ways when possible. Creative ways when necessary. The discussion continued for another hour. Compromises were made, concerns were addressed, plans were outlined. Minji watched the mafia boss navigate it all with practiced skill, giving ground where it didn't matter, standing firm where it did. She realized that this was what he'd been doing for 3 months while searching for her, building toward this moment. Building a world where they could be together safely. Finally, the steel-haired woman stood. I'll support the new direction. On one condition. Name it, the mafia boss said. Your wife becomes an official advisor to the board. If we're going legitimate, we need her perspective. We need someone who actually understands how legitimate businesses operate. Absolutely not, Doyen said immediately. I'm not putting her in the line of fire. I'll do it, Minji heard herself say. Not as a board member. Not with any real power. But as a consultant. Someone you can ask questions of. Someone who can help bridge the gap between your world and the one you're trying to enter. The mafia boss looked at her with alarm. Minji. We're partners, remember? That means I help. I contribute. I don't just hide behind you while you rebuild everything to keep me safe. She met his eyes steadily. Let me do this. Let me be part of the solution. She watched him war with himself, the protective instinct battling against respect for her autonomy. Finally, he nodded. Consultant only. No direct involvement in family business. And the moment I think it's dangerous, we revisit this agreement. Deal. The meeting ended with cautious optimism and several new resignations. As people filed out, offering congratulations that ranged from genuine to perfunctory, Minji felt the weight of what they'd just done settle over her. They'd changed the trajectory of an entire criminal empire. For better or worse, the Kong family would never be the same. Junho was the last to leave. He paused by Minji's wheelchair, looking down at his sleeping granddaughter. Take care of them, he told his son. They're more valuable than anything I ever built. I know, father. I know. When they were finally alone again, the mafia boss sank into a chair with a heavy sigh. That went better than expected. Did it? Half the board resigned. The half that would have caused problems down the line. Better to cut ties now than deal with betrayal later. He reached for her hand. You were amazing in there. Standing up to them. Offering to help. You keep surprising me. Good. Marriage would be boring otherwise. Minji smiled tiredly. Can we go back to the room now? I think I've used up all my courage for the day. For the year, he corrected, standing to push her wheelchair. You just faced down the Kong family board less than 12 hours after giving birth. You're officially the bravest person I know. Back in the hospital room, they settled into a comfortable silence. The Mafia boss held Yuna while Minji dozed, exhaustion finally catching up with her. She drifted in and out, always aware of his presence, his soft voice talking to their daughter about the life they'd have together. Your mother is extraordinary, she heard him murmur. She's going to teach you to be strong and kind and brave. She's going to show you that love is worth fighting for. And I'm going to make sure you never have to fight the way we did. You'll grow up safe. Loved. Free to choose your own path. Minji opened her eyes to find him watching her. You're good at this, she said softly. Being a father. I'm terrified, he admitted. Every time I hold her, I'm terrified I'll break her. That I'll fail her. That I'll pass down all my worst qualities and none of my better ones. That's how every parent feels. But you're already doing the most important thing. You're here. You're present. You're trying. She held out her hand, and he took it. We'll figure it out together. The three of us. The three of us, he repeated, like a vow. Against the world if necessary. Or with it, if we're lucky. 3 weeks later, Minji stood in the garden of a private estate on the outskirts of Seoul, watching staff set up chairs and flowers for a ceremony. The Mafia boss had purchased the property specifically for this, a proper wedding, with family and friends, nothing hidden or secret. You don't have to do this, she told him for the 100th time. We're already married. We're married in the eyes of the law and in my heart. But I want everyone to see it. I want there to be no doubt that you're mine and I'm yours. The Mafia boss adjusted his tie nervously. Besides, your parents are excited. Your mother hasn't stopped planning since I called her. That had been a surreal conversation. The Mafia boss showing up at her parents' restaurant, introducing himself, explaining everything. Her mother had cried. Her father had threatened to kill him. Her brother had been starstruck by the famous Kong Doyen. But in the end, they'd accepted it. Accepted him. Because they could see what Minji had always known. Beneath the violence and power, he loved their daughter with everything in him. Where's Yuna? Minji asked. With my father. He's actually smiling, Minji. I didn't know his face could do that. The Mafia boss shook his head in wonder. She's changed everything. You've changed everything. We changed each other. Minji smoothed down the white dress that fit perfectly despite her postpartum body. Are you ready for this? Last chance to back out. I've never been more ready for anything in my life. He pulled her close, careful of her still healing body. I'm going to spend the rest of my life earning you, Minji. Earning the trust you've given me. Earning the chance to be Yuna's father. Being the man you deserve. You already are. She kissed him softly. Now let's go get married. Again. Properly this time. The ceremony was simple but beautiful. Her family sat on one side, his reformed board members on the other. Yuna slept through most of it in her grandfather's arms. And when the Mafia boss kissed his wife for the second time, sealing vows that had always been unbreakable, Minji felt the last of her fear dissolve. They'd fought for this. Bled for it. Built a future from the ashes of their past. And as she looked out at their strange blended family, criminals and bakers, violence and flower, darkness and light, she knew they'd keep fighting. Keep building. Keep choosing each other every single day. Because that's what love was. Not the absence of fear, but the courage to move forward despite it. Not the easy path, but the right one. Not perfection, but partnership through every imperfect moment. The Mafia boss had found his redemption in her. She'd found her strength in him. And together, they'd found a future worth every sacrifice.